Hi, and welcome to the Divinely Inspired Woman podcast. I am your host, Patricia Wald-Hopkins. I am a modern mystic, and I am here to share with you the beautiful wisdom and stories from women that desire to lead their lives inspired by the divine within them. The divinely inspired woman is devoted to walking the path of her soul's calling, tuning into the divinity within to navigate life with ease and grace through all circumstances. She cultivates beauty in her daily life. She is here to share the most authentic self each day through thick and thin. So I hope you'll enjoy our show today and that you will leave with an infusion of inspiration for your soul and for your day and living your life. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Divinely Inspired Woman. I'm your host, Patricia Wald-Hopkins, and I have a wonderful, beautiful guest with me here today, Monisha Mittal. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes. And so let me tell you a little bit about her, about what what she is doing out in the world. There's so much depth to her, and I hope we'll get to learn a little bit more about that in this episode. But she is an embodied play practitioner and somatic coach. She uses embodied play as an accelerator to bridge your infinite self with your physical self, so you can experience your own uniqueness, vitality, and magnificence. I love that word, magnificence. Coupling tools of physicality with those of higher consciousness. She guides you beneath your surface experience and assists you with tapping into the immense wisdom residing in your body and energy field, so you can live with greater fullness, power, and ease. Monisha is a certified InterPlay leader and accredited coach from the Applied Depths Institute. Ooh, I know that InterPlays. Somebody else came on with that. That fascinates me. So definitely tell us a bit more about that. Okay. Previously, Monisha worked as a communications and process specialist, assisting federal organizations implementing large-scale IT projects. Oh, wow. She began her career in poverty alleviation and community development finance. Oh, wow. Working in the North Philadelphia, Eastern India, and the Federal Reserve Board of Governors in Washington, D.C. Monisha lives in Fairfax, Virginia with her husband and pets. She completed, well, you got to include those. She completed her Bachelor's of Science in Economics from the University of Pennsylvania and her Master in Public Policy from Harvard University's Kennedy School. Well, welcome. You are a magnificent being, I think, yourself.
And it's a journey.
Right? A
Yeah.
journey of ever-blossoming magnificence. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you want to begin with?
Oh, goodness. What do I want to begin with? I guess I could begin with what's happening right now. I could begin with how special this time of year is. So every week I lead something called Dance Chapel. It's sponsored or under the umbrella of one of the co-founders of InterPlay, which I'll get to in a second. But during this time of year, so what we do in Dance Chapel is, we bring whatever is weighing on our hearts and our bodies, and we get to move with it. So it's called chapel because it's like a form of prayer. But this time of year, we do it in the dark. And we just have our candle lights moving. And so it's this ability to step into the mystery and the magic of the darkness. And what we find right away is, that little period of adjustment to the new light because the way the light flickers in the room, it turns the room into a cave. And it's like so perfect for this time of year. It's this, I always read David White's poem, where he says that the darkness has eyes to recognize its own.
Oh, beautiful.
It is. So it's this beautiful seat of going into our knowing and into our not knowing and just being held exactly in that.
Mm. Mm. That's magical and powerful. And and sounds delightful.
Yeah. So mystery and magic, I would say, are what is resonant for me. Those are going to be the themes in my newsletter I write later today. So,
Oh, beautiful. Okay.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about this InterPlay and embodied play somatic work. Is that exactly related to this dance work that you're just talking
Yeah,
about?
it totally came out of that.
Okay.
Yeah, I would, I kind of feel like, is it cool if I dive a little into how I got here?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, so the first thing I want to say about that is being here in itself is a magical mystery tour for sure, because for me, I can go right back to a point where I was sitting in my living room on a sofa in Philadelphia, and I was bawling my eyes out. And I call this story in my life, I call it the lament. Lamentation. Everything was spilling out. And basically, my my life signature up until that point was my whole, you could call, how did I get here? It was born out of not feeling like I belonged.
Yeah.
And feeling intensely alone, really feeling like I had to do life all by myself. And that feeling, that experience actually came into my life when I was just shy of 4 years old.
Mm.
And so it was the start of this, that I'm not wanted and I'm alone.
Yeah.
And it really set up some foundational anxiety, and also like some low grade but ongoing like depression. So low
Yeah.
grade but ongoing depression. So
Mm-hmm.
here I am, fast forward, and it is probably 2005 or six. And so what's happening is that I'm in this house. I had just gotten married, but my husband was out of the house because he was in a graduate program. So day and night, like he wasn't around. And I was in a job where I felt, very unseen and unvalued. And the walls of this, and my family relationships were still, my immediate family relationships were still pretty fraught and tense for me. So
Mm-hmm.
not safe, not safe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the walls of this very old house were stone, and you could not hear anything.
Wow.
And so it was like my message and my reality just, colliding. And I was bawling my eyes out. And I just had this feeling that no matter what I did, that I would always be alone. And it was such a fundamental cry that everything kind of, I just I shifted my direction into a different way, because I just couldn't live that way anymore. And I just made some very small changes at first. I found I had a second floor deck, and I decided to take my laptop out there to work. I found I liked gardening, and I turned to the soil. I just felt so good with the dirt on my fingers.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third thing that happened is I found that I could have radio on, again, honoring this podcast and honoring the frequency that this is sending out, I found Hay House Radio.
Mm.
So when we moved from Philly and came to DC, I call it it's my time of saying yes. I started to explore activities and spaces outside of work because I was really trying to find where I might belong, there might be more of me.
Mm-hmm.
So I explored a lot in this area. So, from intuition circles to right brain creativity, I became I stepped into the priestess process and became a priestess. So all of this is still outside the work circuit. And what happened during this time is I began trusting myself a little bit more. And as you know, changes in the inner, they began to show up in the outer. So I found I had more voice at work. I was getting some better projects. I was stepping into more satisfying relationships and opening up relationships. So there's two things that I'll just complete from this part of the journey, which is, so one of the things I said yes to was to go to an introductory improvisation class. So improv, as people know, comes from the theater, and it is a lot about just playing in the moment. And this really strange thing happened to me in class, halfway through each class. Each class was almost 3 hours long. It was 2.5 hours, but it would go a little bit over. And halfway through each class, I would have this very interesting thing happen where all of my sinuses would clear. And that was a really big deal for me because I was constantly clearing my throat, constantly sniffling. It took me a long time to learn. Had like a dairy allergy. So I was constantly congested. And I felt so clear. And I felt like I was listening with my whole body. And I was like, So I kind of tucked that away. And that experience led to a weekend of InterPlay. And InterPlay is before I put any adjectives onto it, I will just say what it is. It is a system of improvisational forms, and that includes movement, and it includes storytelling, and it includes sounds and tones and voice. And it is based on, these are my words, I find that it's based in a deep wisdom of play and a deep wisdom of the body. And the biggest difference between my experience with InterPlay and regular improv was the word I want to say is surprise. Like what comes out of you is beyond your imagination. But also it was not full of anxiety. It was not feeling like you were jumping off a cliff. The beautiful thing with InterPlay is you step more into you. You step more into the you that you are. That's the gift of InterPlay.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Your authentic expression.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that. I love that. I feel very much aligned with all that you said.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, I do. I think I've gone about it in a slightly different way, but really about that authentic expression and play. And so so you went through this, it sounds like a blossoming into your authentic expression, and so come to this point here today, what are some of the things that you do now to stay in that mode of blossoming from that authentic place?
So I'll just say really quickly that I became a certified InterPlay leader in 2020.
Okay.
So I just want to say that even from that journey of this, I call it my journey of awe awakening, when I realized there's something deeper going on, there's something more to the story than what's on the surface. It wasn't until really 2017 when it became too uncomfortable to stay at the job I was in. So I just want to presence that, to keep it real, that every incremental step counts. And but up until then, I was still, even though I was saying yes to all these little pieces of me and I was trusting myself more, I was still playing the game of not enough, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so with InterPlay ran to meet me. I decided to take a sabbatical. InterPlay came and just ran to meet me, and I enrolled in a 6-month program with them. And I decided to become a leader in 2020. And what I do, what has happened since then is, you know, I said yes to doing a weekly dance chapel, and very soon, you know, to be there for other people, you have to develop practices for yourself so that you're constantly in the connection and in the guidance and able to support people at the highest, right?
Right.
So I have a lovely practice every morning. It consists of 3 or 4 things. Definitely get into my body. So I have either yoga or I have walking. I make myself a protein smoothie every morning. And then I find the best way that I get to connect is I have a drawing practice that
Mm-hmm.
leads into a writing practice. And I just
Mm.
climb into my body that way. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful. That's
It is
beautiful.
beautiful. And I get pretty straight on what are the priorities for the day and what are the communications. And so that's what my newsletter is. What I really am trying to do is support people on how to navigate this human walk,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
remaining in full connectedness with their hearts, but
Mm-hmm.
also like their unique self, right? Like I
Right.
am, that's what I'm here for. I'm an advocate of the unique expression of the divine that each person is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Perfectly aligned with the divinely inspired woman. Yes. To
Yay!
right. You know,
Yeah.
so how we all find ways to come to that point where we're able to express ourselves in, you know, it's almost like returning to who your innocence, right? Before
I'm
before all
so
of that.
glad you used that word. And I want to say that's another so you know, one of the reasons that I'm such a champion of embodied play is because I see it as an accelerator because the body is a brain bypass, and the body never lies. And the body is this witness. It's your most compassionate witness. It loves you unconditionally, and it has witnessed every moment of your lived experience. And so the beauty of movement and some of these other embodied practices is it gives access to this language that is below the layer of
Yes.
cognition. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And it allows that innocence, the safety to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
That is what is holy. Um, you know, I love wordplay, and the last several months in my writing, I've realized, I mean, I have to believe with almost every fiber of my being that the word whole and holy, you know, came from the same word, because so many times when people access their body through InterPlay and embodied play, so many people speak of a wholeness, that they're connected to their wholeness. And that works with no one's broken, no one needs to be fixed.
Just
And that
connect.
there, yeah, and that there's this, and what I love about it is there's a uniqueness in it. The vibration that you are is unique to you. And
Mm-hmm.
we get to give it room to play and express and surprise you. Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
surprise you.
Yeah.
Yes. That word surprise, right? It
Yeah.
allows life to be delightful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I say. Um, it's wisdom, it's delight, it's powerful. And then you can put in any other word you want, but it's, oh, infinitely resourced. I think that's another thing that I would really want people to
Infinitely
feel.
resourced.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
connected to. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, Yeah, I'd love to play with you. I'd love to go to your InterPlay or your chapel. It's interesting because I can't recall. I think our birthdays are close. I can't remember, but I think they might be. I'm not
On
sure.
January 24.
Oh, January 24. No, where they're not close, but there's something about your energy,
Yeah.
and I'd have to look, but there's something about the work that you do that I really resonate with, the play part and the innocence and the authentic expression, and the language, which I would love to have you talk a little bit more about that language of innocence, because mine first came to me in 2000, was it 15? And it didn't come out in that those natural sounds of innocence didn't come out until when I was in ceremony, and they came out, and then they never went away. And so tell me a little bit about that language, because I call it light language, but I know it's just a language of it's just a language of like your body and of love and other dimensions.
Well, for to so yeah, so first of all, yes to other dimensions, and I think that's the other thing. I'll just quickly preface that I think one of the things that's different about me is I'm consciously marrying people's multidimensional self
Yes.
to their physical self, and I do that consciously, but I let people experience it unconsciously and consciously, and I think that's so important because I don't think we need gurus. I think everyone steps into their inner authority. I mean, Jesus, you're God. I mean, you might as well, get to know yourself. You don't need an intermediary. So that's the holiness of that work. But about the innocence, I would say to make that 3D, I would say unconditional love is compassionate and non-judgmental. And I think the body lives and it's just flowing in the ocean of those frequencies, right? And so I think the innocence is genuine, and it's got a vibration, and it needs a lot of safety to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the other thing about play, because the wisdom of play is there's no failing, there's no getting anything right, and there's no getting anything wrong, and therefore we get the room to honor all these pieces of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And there's parts of us that have been asking for our attention for a really long time. And so there's a large level of safety with play. And that's honestly been my journey. And it's fun. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
just fun. And
It's
so
just
no
fun.
one needs to be spiritual. No one needs to, you just be you, and you just do this, you just play. And what happens is all these pieces come back. So it's a large coming home to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, all those parts that get scattered
Yeah.
about as we go through growing up.
Yeah. And growing up, and like, I believe, I mean, I'm sure you, like, when we're born, we're completely connected with our divine source. You can see all the light like pouring out of the eyes
Mm-hmm.
of those babies. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just this,
It's
we call it
constant.
jerky, like, it's not smooth bringing that out in the world. It's like jerky, and it, like, can come back in here and settle in here, and
And settle in there
ways.
and
Yeah.
come back to
Yeah.
that innocence. Yeah. So, I think that's a beautiful point for the future, like for the kids that are growing up now or that are coming into the world, is for us to be examples of it's okay to continue to play, to return to that. So
Yes.
what is your experience with offering this sort of work beyond adults? Is there
I
a
do. Oh
channel?
my God, that's so
Mm-hmm.
funny. So it's funny you touched on that. So I've been really reflecting on this, because there's two ways I've come out with it. So I love kids. I have a very strong resonance with children, at least little kids. Everyone in my neighborhood will tell you, like, the babies all, they're all. And so I did actually. I was very fortunate. By the way, the InterPlay community is like amazing. It's another repletion for me in my life, that I found this tribe of people. And the other co-founder, Phil Porter. So we've got. He has this beautiful phrase where InterPlay welcomes you in your peculiarity and your particularity. And I think that also speaks to the spark of the divine, because the more you be you, the more peculiar and particular, you're going to find out about yourself. So
Right.
all of that's
Yeah.
really cool. Yeah. But don't let me forget what we're talking about here. Work me back to
just the pathway to the younger generation and being a way shower for that.
So
Yeah.
there are a ton of people, there, not a ton. We have several beautiful people in InterPlay who actually do InterPlay with children. So
wow.
I was fortunate enough. I collaborated with one of our lovely millennials, Ignati, and she and I did a 6-week program online with kids.
Nice.
And so it was, I will just say, children are a whole other ball game. The thing that I learned, and that Ignati schooled me on, is, InterPlay, it's really for adults, because it's the stuff that we've forgotten. And in a way, some of it is kind of strange. I mean, it depends what age children you're working on. I mean, by the time you get to 15, I think it's okay to be like but you have to do a lot of adaptations for children, because there's just a ton of different nuances. One is that children are very self-conscious with other kids in a way that the level of personal safety that we have garnered as adults. And so there's just a bunch of little adaptations, to do with children. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the reason I ask is because our audience, probably there is a good portion who have children or who work with children, and wanting to, when we show up in our work in the world, whatever that might be, whether it be as an entrepreneur or working at a school, is like this InterPlay. It sounds like it's just for everyone to help them be more whole.
It is.
And then when they go and they do their work, they're showing up in that vibration, which is almost like a tuning fork for the others around them to continue, whatever stage they're at, to either align them back to I'm kind of getting out there, but bear with me, align them to their authentic frequency, because they're seeing an adult do that. Do you know what I mean?
No, I agree with you. I came from that perspective. I think children just have it more together in their innocence and isness, where they're just like, why do you even got to do that?
Yeah, and that's true. I think that the younger ones are definitely like that. I mean, I have two tweener. Well, I have a teenager and one she's almost 13. And they just have a totally different way. I don't remember being that way when I was 13. I remember being much, much more wanting to hide myself. Like I didn't, my authentic self, my feelings. And so, I wonder if maybe that's just, they're just been born at a higher, with less challenges about being your authentic self nowadays.
Yeah. And I think there's a whole conversation we could have here. I will say that one of my deeper interests for the future is this area of nonverbal communication, and especially for children that are growing up very differently. Like, let's say they're on the spectrum, the autism spectrum somewhere, where experiencing connection with other human beings is happening in a whole different way. And so that feels like an invitation to me to explore what if we had a room of everyone that was communicating nonverbally,
right.
And that everyone could experience connection at that level. I know for me, now that I am, understanding how these pieces have worked in my life, I it was almost like I was a closeted something. There was something so different about me. It felt scary to be different. I wasn't sure what it is. And you just kind of, you don't have any language to talk about it because it's so out there. No one's going to talk to you about it. And so the ability to go nonverbal and to then experience other people experience what I always experienced, it just makes me sing. It makes my whole body sing that I can experience connection that way, which is why I love my one-on-one sessions, because I just feel like I get to be all
Yeah.
of me. And that's why I call them holy play dates, because it's like I get
Oh,
to dance with the holy in you, I
tell
get
us,
to play with the
tell
holy in
us a
you.
little bit about what you offer people. Tell us a little bit
Oh,
about that.
sure. Okay, so I do like 3 different things. So one is I have my one-on-one sessions, and
Mm-hmm.
in my one-on-one sessions, I really am offering them as a package of 4, because right now, I'm trying to be like, what is keeping you stuck, and where would accessing your own wisdom, so I really just move at the level of energy, and I try to understand where the energy wants to move. And so we're literally using, movement,
Mm.
movement, music, poetry, storytelling, and voice to, and it's such an accelerator, right? It's just such an accelerator. And it's like your mind could be all the way here. And, this whole nonverbal piece of you is just like, it'll just show you something as simple as a gesture, show you something just like this. And then you can be like, oh, that feels really good. That's what I want.
Oh, wow.
So those are the one-on-ones. In my workshops, I have these signature workshops. I put on a couple this year. One was on finding your personal boundaries from the inside out. And the other one, gosh, it was called Standing on Higher Ground. But my intention in each of these is we start with play, just play. And I call that leveling the playing field. It's really equalizing the playing field. And then we start bringing in your higher self, multidimensionality into everything you're doing. So you have felt powerful felt experiences of your own that are yours. And I incorporate journal prompts so that people are really getting their juicy takeaways.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last thing I'm doing, which I'm so excited about, is I'm building a 6-week course, and it's called Opening Up Your Glide Path, because I
Mm.
really want to equip people with all of their resources so that they learn how to live in more ease and flow and emanating their expression. It's like my tagline for myself is emancipating your emanation.
Emancipating your emanation. I
Yeah.
get that. I get that. I
Yeah.
feel that. Wow, those are wonderful offerings. If people want to find you, to learn more about you, or work with you, what are some of the
Yeah.
ways that they can reach you?
Sure. So if you go to my website, monishamittal.com, and that's the last name is mittal.com, there is a page for the one-on-one sessions that will take you directly. You can schedule a discovery session with me, and it'll be 30 minutes, and we can chat and get to know each other, how I can support you. There's a separate page for workshops. I've pretty much finished for the year, so it'll take a few weeks to populate for next year. And then the 6-week course is going to get its birth launch towards the end of February. So watch for that.
Perfect.
And you should sign up for my newsletter. It's just fun. And
Sounds like it.
and then it'll have links to things as they're offered.
Okay, well, great.
Yeah.
Well, wonderful. Well, before we close for today, do you have a pearl of wisdom to leave our listeners with about staying on the path of the divinely inspired woman?
Yes. Never give up. There is an absolute there's a you that you can believe in, that is the answer to all of your hopes and dreams and prayers. It is more bountiful than you can imagine. Um, and You're really meant to be here. You really are. There's this beautiful poem I came across from Tara Moore recently, and there's a U-shaped hole in the world, is what the poem's about,
Oh,
and that's what I would like to leave people with.
beautiful. Thank you so much. I feel like we kind of discussed a whole gamut of things, but I know in some way they all relate back to, cultivating that innocence on our planet at this time, right? As a salve to all of the seriousness and all of the change that's been happening. So I so appreciate you being
Yeah.
here today to share your wisdom and your beautiful presence. So thank you. Thank you.
It was a joy and a pleasure. I really appreciate this time with you and our whole conversation at this point in the year.
Yes, a beautiful way to
Yeah.
end the year with your conversation. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Monisha. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Divinely Inspired Woman. Again, I am your host, Patricia Wald-Hopkins, and I am so glad that you joined us here today. I hope you left with some soul food to inspire your daily life. And if you would like to learn more about my work, please check out my website, patriciawaldhopkins.com, and you can find out more about my divinely inspired practice and tools. So, thank you again. Have a beautiful day. Hi, I'm dropping in here with an announcement about a program, a new mentorship that I am offering. It's called Voices of Gaia, and it's about bringing your voice, your leadership, your life in alignment with Gaia's guidance. So if you feel called to learn more about this program, it's a beautiful, rich program where we dive into your essence. And if you so desire, we develop your business around it and really blossom into your whole lifestyle, this wisdom from Gaia that wants to be spoken through you. So if you feel called, reach out to me at patricia@patriciawaldhopkins.com. That's patricia@patriciawaldhopkins.com. There's no hyphen between Wald and Hopkins. And I would just love to hear from you and see if this is a good fit. So thank you for tuning in. Have a beautiful day.